one of the top RBs is probably going to stay in college.
Oh no. Well, I don't want him
Yeah,
anyway, but
yeah. But an
hopefully
RB,
Marvin Harrison doesn't stay in college because
yes,
it's
hopefully
gonna
Marvin Harrison does
ruin my
not.
plan. I don't need an
Yeah,
RB. Okay.
right. But an already weak RB class gets even weaker. So I have adjusted those graphs that we always refer to, those bar charts that compare 24, 2025, and 2026.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, yeah. Again, QBs, receivers, tight ends did not really change. It was just maneuvering the RBs a little bit. And Quinn Ewers, again, another quarterback, 2024. He will be staying in college as well. Okay,
Oh boy.
yeah. So a couple things there, but with that being said, we still have the same number, I guess, of running backs, which is like three, four. But the thing is, like, the quality of the position, no longer workhorses. What does that mean for fantasy football, timeshares, and whatever? Let's just get right into them, I guess. And there's probably going to be maybe like four or five more that are not listed. All right, from the eight that I have here. Okay, let's go over the top eight though, at least. And I would hope that maybe two of these guys become, long-term playable assets, if you will. All right. First one here is going to be Braylon Allen, Wisconsin. That's a Big Ten school. I'm hoping that he gets picked round two. More than likely, could be a round three pick. Mid round two. I don't think that Javonte Williams' range is no longer realistic for any of these guys, right? Which is like what? That'll be like the early round two, like in the 30s, maybe 40s overall. I don't think that's going to be the case for these guys. I think we're hoping that the top guy is, in round two. There's a good chance that the top guy is not going to be there. And for now, Braylon Allen is my RB1. Very fluid, of course. And as of right now, it's not even a consensus thing, right? Like, if you remember last year, before the draft, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. After the draft, Bijan Robinson won, Jahmyr Gibbs two. This year, it's like, I think there's like a group of names that you can just kind of pick who your top guy is.
He weighs
Moving on.
245.
Yeah, he weighs 245. He's a big
That's
guy.
really, really big for an RB in college.
Yeah, big guy.
I think that's like unheard of. I think Najee Harris, not Najee Harris. Well, Najee Harris is huge, but Le'Veon Bell, I think it was 230, and he had to lose some weight.
Yeah, so that could be a
Dang,
thing.
245.
Yeah, the speed is definitely one of the things that are going to be talked about with Braylon Allen. Obviously, he's great in between the tackles because he has that frame. He can catch the football as a receiver, receiving back, but that home run speed is going to be questioned a little bit. And that's probably the reason, honestly, Couch, why he's not like a first round or a second round NFL draft talent. Moving on, though, we have Blake Corum, who is one of those physical, kind of bowling ball style running backs. He is the all-time touchdown leader now for Michigan. You see the height weight there, 5'8", 214, which is not. I mean, the weight is good. Obviously, 5'8", on the shorter end of that, but obviously, it's clearly like a compact type of guy. I think, the comparisons that are probably going to get thrown out there, and obviously this is not to do with the character, this is just to do with the on-field and kind of the body type, would be the former Ravens running back Ray Rice. Probably the comparison is going to be thrown out there, just like a body makeup and a skill set point of view. He goes to Michigan. That's another Big Ten school, by the way. So Wisconsin, Michigan, we're starting off with a couple back-to-back Big Tens. Then we move on to Florida State. The third one here, his name is Trey Benson, and he looks quite exciting. He's the one who I've watched the least amount of tape on so far, but I'm definitely going to watch more in the coming weeks, months, etc. Um, heading into the draft, leading into the draft. But he looks quite good, and I'm excited to see what he could bring to the table. And basically, these three guys, Braylon Allen, Blake Corum, Trey Benson, I would say 80% of dynasty managers today, right now, have one of these three guys as their top back. There could be some strays out there that we'll talk about in just a moment here, but it's really the majority is picking one of these three guys and then probably ranking the other two guys 2 and 3. Let's go ahead and address this question real quick. He's asking, so is Trevion Henderson and Jonathan Brooks going back? Jonathan Brooks, I'm not sure of. He's going to be covered in just a second here. I think he's actually next on the list. But he could be going back, which, again, if he does, we will obviously update that. And Trevion Henderson, yes, he not officially official, but, it's basically the writing is on the wall. He is going back to Ohio State. Will not be a part of the 2024 NFL draft or your rookie draft in April. Speaking of Jonathan Brooks, though, so he is another Texas Longhorn, right? We got Bijan Robinson, we got Roschon Johnson. Jonathan Brooks, probably the next guy on the list. He's pretty good, man. He's pretty good. Obviously, what I was going to say with him kind of was just addressed with the comments there. He might not be here, right? Obviously, when I was making this graphic, when I was preparing for this podcast, he was still in the loop. He was still in the mix, but he may be staying in college. He's not sure yet. It's not like a Trevion Henderson thing where like it's definitive. I can take him off, but maybe in a couple of weeks we might get more clarity from the Jonathan Brooks situation. Scroll down to this next one. Bucky Irving out of Oregon. This is an exciting one because he has won me a good amount of money for college, daily fantasy sports, which is fun. When I picked him, he was a freshman. He was like that low sal running back who, in my mind, he was always the most talented runner on the field. But as far as the depth chart goes, he was listed as like 2 or 3. A couple of guys got hurt. He started getting carries, and his salary did not go up. So I was still just hammering on Bucky Irving. And then out of nowhere, I opened the app, and he is the most expensive running back on the slate. I'm like, wow, what happened? This guy, maybe Oregon, kind of came to their senses. Maybe they kind of, figured out, hey, this guy is the most talented, or one of the most talented players that we have on our offense. Let's elevate him and give him the ball more. It looks like that's what happened. As you can see here, the major thing with Bucky Irving is the height weight, 5'10", 194. That seems small. Again, these are not official weights. We will see what happens in the combine if he attends whatever pro day height weight measurements he gets, but could be an undersized guy. Very exciting. Obviously, he's not my favorite player, but he's among my favorites in this draft class just because of, I kind of spotted him early on in his career or in his college career, and he's, just gone up and up and up since then. So those are like 5 right now. There's 3 more. I'll cover them all kind of at once here. It's going to be Will Shipley, Donovan Edwards, and Audric Estime.
Oh, I was on mute really quick. Isaiah Pacheco is the same height. Adds in the way as the last guy, Bucky Irving.
Okay.
He weighs 216 and seems to have that slimmer build as far as RB. Not saying he's too skinny or anything. He's he's a good power runner. But yeah, definitely got to watch that like 200 range, 198 range. It's actually pretty rare, but he's in college, right? So if it just puts on 7 more pounds, consider that quote unquote normal. If he's like
Right.
203. Yeah, but it's definitely something you want to watch. Not a lot of sub 200-pound guys. Gibbs is probably one.
And
Don't
Gibbs
remember.
is again like one of those prolific receiving backs. Kind of similar to Bucky Irving, honestly. Bucky Irving is one of those receivery types, but not nearly as talented. All right. So it's
Yeah.
like we're talking like Walmart, Wish.com, like something like that.
199 pounds for Gibbs, five foot
Yeah.
nine.
Yeah. Sounds about right. 5'10", 194, so even a little
Which
bit
was a
thinner.
legit concern. That's why
Yeah.
we're, but he's doing well in the league. It's more about Montgomery being there. I think the weight is totally not an issue for Gibbs at all, but it's something that we did talk about as a prospect.
Yep. For sure. For sure. So obviously, look, we're saying that it's a weak RB class, and the top guys are not even that great. So the further away you go from the quote unquote best RB1, the top guy in this class, the more kind of problems, or the more red flags pop up, or stuff like that. So these last three guys here, Will Shipley, Donovan Edwards, Audric Estime, they're all very different running backs as far as what they bring. Different skill sets. Will Shipley, more of like your traditional, like, kind of in between the tackles guy. What's his weakness? Kind of undersized and kind of slow, right? And no one in the country really thinks that he's a 3-down type guy. Maybe he could be like a 2-down guy at best. That's his upside. But again, what does that mean for us as far as like, long term building blocks at the RB position? Donovan Edwards is completely the opposite, right? In a lot of backfields nowadays, you have like the whole thunder and lightning concept where you have one kind of like battering ram, power back, and more of a, that's one guy. And then your second guy is like more like a, kind of outside zone or, receivery type running back, third down back, if you will, faster type of guy, right? So you got power and you got speed, power, finesse. Donovan Edwards definitely fits that receiving speed finesse category. Definitely not going to be a guy who can, command the backfield to his own, which is one of the concerns we had with Jahmyr Gibbs. Speaking of him, was that could he, could he be the lone warrior, so to speak, or the lone back in the backfield? And I feel like with Donovan Edwards, again, the talent level a little bit different than Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously not the same, but I feel like as far as what happens to him in the NFL, probably going to be similar, where he gets tied up to a team that has a guy like David Montgomery already in place to kind of complement that as their backfield. And then of course you have Audric Estime as well, another good back. People question, obviously, not obviously, people question whether or not he can be just a 3-down, even a lead back at this point. Honestly, he's had a couple of good seasons with Notre Dame, but again, the major thing is with all three of these guys is they have some holes in their resume that prevents them from being that well-rounded 3-down back. So that's pretty much your top 8. There's going to be more after that. And, a lot of guys in Dynasty are going to say, okay, the running back landscape right now, all the top guys are kind of old. I don't know what to do here. I want to get younger. So let me try to, get some of these 2024 rookie picks and try to take my shot on these running backs. That's definitely one way to do it. And if you want to do it, go ahead. What I would do, though, is I would try to get my receivers built up, quarterback set, tight ends, and everything ready to go. And I would try to, maybe take a first-round pick and trade it for a set of, I got a set of 9 running backs here that I'm really targeting, that I see as players that I can build around for multiple years at the running back position couch, not just one, right? Like, if I want this a 1 year type thing, all right, give me Pacheco, give me Rashad White, give me, Brian Robinson, or even Gus Edwards. I can do the whole 1 year thing, redraft mentality. But in a dynasty league, I want a couple of years to be stacked up, several years of production here, right? So I got 9 guys that I'm going to highlight, and I would, again, if I'm rebuilding, if I'm looking to compete, not this year, this year's over, looking to play for next year, right? In my off season, rather than going for picks to get running backs in 2024, I would try to trade for guys like, if I can, Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson. Obviously, those guys are going to be super expensive. Obviously, with McCaffrey, he's a little bit older. You're going to have to be, more of a complete set team. He's going to have to be one of those final pieces for you. Bijan, however, he's a young back, right? Young back. He's been struggling a little bit, so I don't want to say he's cheap right now because people are still going to value Bijan Robinson just for the name brand. But, maybe there's a guy who maybe you can get him for a little bit lower than normal, right? Like 85 cents on the dollar or 90 cents on the dollar, something like that. Again, that's another idea. Travis Etienne, again, another player whose window potentially could be open with this whole Trevor Lawrence injury, but he's also a young player, young running back. This year, he is kind of being used as a workhorse just because they don't have anyone, but I don't know if that changes with a signing or a draft pick in the future. But again, young, very talented running back, good offense. Next two here would be Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. I understand they're older. I understand they have injury issues. I understand with Saquon, the contract is not, the long-term contract is not there. But these guys, they're built differently, so to speak. Hall of Fame caliber material at the running back position. You can throw in Josh Jacobs with that list also. I know he doesn't have the same kind of name brand weight, but he's in that same category as far as the production goes. He's every year top 3, top 4, top 5 running back. I understand he does not have that long-term deal just like Saquon Barkley, but again, one of those talented guys, and he's quite young. And then we have a trio of younger backs, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, and DeAndre Swift. I think Breece Hall is probably the better one of the three just because he can carry more of a workload, and he's got that home run threat. Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, definitely home run threats, definitely can catch the football, but the lack of volume hurts them, at least for, when projecting long-term play. So that's what I would do instead of going after these younger 2024 running backs. It is a tough position to figure out right now. And I'm telling you, whoever can do the best job of navigating running backs is probably going to be winning your league.